Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 199 of Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to make a quote easel. So just something I think that now it's good for us to think about things that make us happy, things to be grateful for, and so this would be a perfect project to work on. So what we're going to do, I've just grabbed a bunch of stuff, so I'll go through it as we use it. But now the one thing that I did buy for today's project was at the Dollar Tree. This was 3 pairs of hoop earrings. I've already taken 1 pair off because I had to try it. But so you can use hoop earrings. If you have the kind of round, not like a keychain that you have to go, like round and around, but the kind that like click together. They're a round metal thing, but they click together right here. Those would work great also. They used to have those at the Dollar Tree, but they didn't have any this time. So I looked around and I found these earrings and I figured they will work for us. So we're going to use those when we get to that point. And I have our little painty papers here from last week. And I have a cereal box. So the first thing we're going to start with is the cereal box and a ruler. Here's our ruler. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just try and get a straight edge. So I'm just going to, I've got that little straight edge there. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Well, if I put this and make sure that my ruler is even with this edge, make sure it looks good here, then that ought to be pretty close to a straight edge. You can use your cutter for this, your rotary cutter. I forgot to bring it out, and I don't do it that often. I don't use it that often. My preferred cutter is a guillotine cutter. So, and that's just preference. I'm just going to cut along this straight line. Okay, and that's going to be way more than enough, so I'm just going to really quickly just cut it here so I can get this big bulk out of my way. Alrighty, and then what we're going to do, because we are going to use our painty index cards from last week, and you can use them any size that, if you want to use them this way, you could even use them this way if you want to, so that you have much more room to write. I'm going to make one that's a little bit smaller, so I'm going to fold mine in half. So no matter what you use, if you don't have index cards, if you just want to cut out some pieces of paper that are all the same size, and also the reason I'm folding them in half too is because then I'm going to glue them with just the stick glue, just our plain old stick glue, and that way they'll be a little more sturdy, because these are really, really thin index cards. So whatever you're going to use, make sure that you just, you're just going to decide that for your base, and then you're just going to put it on your cardboard. You want it to be up a little bit from the bottom and over a little bit from the side. So I'm going to measure. I'm just going to hold that on there and then just measure across. Okay, so this is 3 1/8 wide from the edge of my cardboard all the way over to the edge of here. I've got about 3/16 there. So if I go over 3/16 here, I'm just going to go 3 1/2 inches. That's a whole lot easier, and there is no exact right size, so we'll just go 3 1/2 inches. So I'm going to make a couple of marks here at 3 1/2 inches, and then draw a line so that I can cut it. And then we'll get our height next. And then when you're done kind of constructing it, you can decorate it up any way that you want to. So you're not going to see that line, whether you cut it off exactly or not. Okay, so to use the folded in a half index card, I made it 3 1/2 inches wide. And of course, when you're cutting it, the box wants to move a little bit, but that's okay because we're not going to go up that high anyways. And then what I did was when I cut this off, look how uneven that is. When I cut it off so that I had this at the bottom. So because I want to have that. And so then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how tall I want it. Now we're going to come down about an inch. We're going to need about an inch from our holes, wherever we put our holes in here, to the top of our easel. So if I just say, if I put my holes down about 1/4 of an inch, then I'm going to want to go 3/4 more of an inch above that, so I have a whole inch before my hole. So I'm going to put a line right there, and then I'm just going to measure what size is that from the bottom, and that's 3.5 inches also. So I'll just come over here, and that is 3.5 inches up from our fold. And because I made those lines so long, I'm not going to make 3 of them. I'm going to set it down. Line this up with those lines and right across there. Now we're going to cut that one off right where it's at. And we're only cutting just, this is the front of our easel. Now, because we don't want our easel to be like so straight up and down, if we make both of them exactly the same length, well, I can still do that. Here, we'll make this one 3.5 inches, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what we're going to need for our easel. So let's get these other pieces out of the way. Okay, now when we take our easel and we fold it up, it is pretty straight up and down. I want it to be at just a little bit more of an angle. So in order to do that, we need to cut the back just a little bit shorter. So I'm going to cut the back just a 1/2 inch shorter than the front. And that will give the front just a little bit more slant, and the back will be a little straighter up and down. So mark it at a 1/2 inch. I usually use a pen to do this, and I'll tell you what, the light shines on the pencil. It's hard to see. No wonder I usually use a pen. I'm just going to cut right across there. Now, if everything is not totally exact and perfect, that's fine. You're going to decorate it up. So now when we do this, I'll show it to you from the side. See if this is flat. See, the front of it leans back further, and the back's a little bit straighter. So that is what we're going to do there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use our pokey tool and get our pokey mat, and we're going to poke a hole down 1 inch from the top. Now you can do this separately like this, or you can do it. I just kind of hold them together a little bit, even though they're not going to be. They're different sizes, you know, the front and the back. So we won't be able to fold it, but we can still hold it together. Okay, so if that's 1 inch, I'm going to draw a line across here because we're going to be decorating it somehow, so that line's not going to show it, you know. And then I'm going to come in about 3/8 of an inch. That's halfway between, no, 5/8 of an inch. That's halfway between a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to put a mark there. I'm going to turn this over and do the same over here. Five-eighths of an inch. Okay. So now we've got our little spots here to poke through. And because I want them to be about the same, I'm going to just kind of, oh, forgot one more step. We're going to fold this right here in half. And I'm going to fold it with the inside out. So I'm going to just line up these two fold lines with each other. Like that. Make sure both sides are lined up, and they are. And then just fold that. Give it a good burnish. You can use whatever you have to burnish that down. Okay. And now that's going to fold into the middle of our thing. And that just, I don't know why, it seems to make them a little more sturdier. Plus, it also makes it so that if you want to, if you ever want to put it away, you can just take your rings out and lay it flat. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hold the top of this one and the top of this one together and line it up on the sides, line it up on the top, just like that. And then right on our line, put a hole in there. I think it moved, so I'm going to hold this in here and then line it back up. There we go. And there we go. So now we have our holes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the larger screwdriver, which is they are our pokey tools that we got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to make that hole a little bit bigger. Do that on both sides. That just makes it easier to get our rings through. Okay. All right, and then what we're going to do is we are going to take all of our cards and fold them in half, and then I just used a stick glue. You can use whatever you would like. Let's put something underneath of it. And just make sure that you get the stick glue out to the edge and get some in the middle, and then just press them together. And then what I did with mine was, because I've done all the rest so you didn't have to watch me do them all, after I got them all done, then I put them under, again, a heavy book, and I let them sit for a little while. So I have, excuse me, so I have some of our other ones. We'll just add that one to it. Now that makes 15. I had 14 here, and you can do as many as you'd like. I did take my really dark ones out because, and this was one that I just picked up some of the paint off the table and just threw it on some papers and stuff. So what I want to show you that, because just remember to do these kinds of things because it gets you cool stuff. All that mess that I had on my tablecloth, when I said I should have put a piece of paper underneath of it, I sprayed my water on there, and then I just took a paintbrush and kind of moved it around a little bit, and then I just took a bunch of papers and just kept sticking them down there until they were covered with paint, and until the paint was pretty much gone before I washed it off. And then there's where I kind of cleaned off my brush, and that's what I did with this, well, one of those in there too. So, but remember, because now this gives me a lot of really pretty papers to play with. If I don't want the ladybugs, I can cut out the middle, but even the ladybugs are kind of cute. So that was just some paper I had bought for the other series. And that's where this one came from. But I did set the dark ones aside because, they'll be hard to write on, even though, I think I'm going to use maybe a black permanent marker. They're still so dark. It'll be hard to read. Excuse me. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take, our, take our base. And I'm going to just take a regular card and kind of line it up. You can measure if you want to. I just kind of say, that's about even on both sides. And so I am going to put a circle right there and a circle right there. That way I know that that is where I need to line up left to right. And then I'm going to come down a 1/2 inch. Let me see. I have my prototype here because I don't think it looks like it's quite a 1/2 inch. Nope, it's 3/8. That's where I was thinking 3/8 from earlier. Okay, so 3/8 is just one of the larger marks past, let me just do this, before your 1/2 inch. A 1/2 inch just seemed to be too much. I'm going to draw a line across there. And then I'm just going to come straight down so that I know where that needs to be. And then I'm going to punch a hole with my hole punch. And I know for sure it's here. Here it is. I'm just going to line that up and punch a hole. And you just kind of want to make sure that you get them centered. If you punch the first hole and it's not centered on your line, if it's a little too low, punch the second hole just a little bit too low. Then they'll be a little bit more even. So there we go. Now this is going to be our template. And we're just going to go through. Now I want to try and put the folded end up because to me it just seems like, because the rings will be on here, that will kind of just keep it together a little bit. It really doesn't matter. And honestly, after I have folded these up, some of them I'm having a hard time telling which is the folded edge and which is the raw edge. So I'm just going to go through and punch each of them just like this. Just going to line it up and try and line it up well so that you don't keep making your hole a whole lot bigger. You're not going to be able to be perfect, and that's all right. But you also should remember, because we just kind of lined it up or whatever, you want to remember that as you're punching them, I don't want to say this. Okay, I'm going to punch them this way as I'm punching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this is the left side and this is the right side when I'm looking at them this way. So when I punch them, I just want to make sure that when I set it down, that I set it down in the same So I have those two there. I want to make sure that I set it down this way because then they will all line up pretty well. Now possibly, let me flip this over and see how close I got it. That's not real bad, but if you can see a little bit of the blue there and a little bit of the blue here, so see they're not lined up as well as when they're all punched and then reset the same way, like that. So you just kind of want to remember that, and especially sometimes it's nice to do that because if you have to stop and walk away for a minute, when you come back you might not remember which way you were holding things. And that way, you know, this way you'll be able to just look at your template and you'll know which way to put it down. So I'm just going to go through and punch all of these and then I will be right back. Okay, I am back and I have the holes punched in, and so I'm going to set those aside for just a second. I decided that I wanted to do at least a little covering, decorating, whatever you want to call it, before I put it all together. So what I did was I just took a piece of that paper I was telling you about and I just glued it right on like that. And then since my inside has not been sanded, and I really don't want to take the time to sand it, what I am going to do is I'm going to put some glue on the cardboard, and then, see, I've moved this over so I have a little bit extra over here because your glue doesn't like to necessarily stick to something that's shiny like this. And so I'm just going to press this over like that. It was a little too long, so I already cut the edge off of it there so that I could fold this one over like this. And this is the inside. I thought about putting the little ladybugs on the outside, but you're not going to see them anyways. By the time that you put this on here, you'll just see that. You know, just like a little bit of nothing. So I thought, oh, they might be cute on the inside because you'll kind of see them there. Okay, and now I am going to glue paper to paper. So I'm just going to there we go. So now that paper is going to stick to this part because it's actually sticking to itself. So then this part folds this way. Give that a press, and then this one folds back. Give that a press. This one folds back. And give that a press. And there we go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I forgot. Where's the holes? I was going to poke a hole. Before I folded this over, I was going to poke the hole. So now I just have to, let's see. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. It's right there, I think. Yep. So, if you're going to cover it the way I covered it, when you get the first side done, poke a hole in it. Then you can wrap the rest of it. You'll have the hole over here, and then you can poke through that part also. Just kind of massage it. Now there's a little dent right there so I can see it. Okay. Let's see if we can find them on this side. Yep, it's right there. And right here. There we go. And this is the shorter side, so this is the back. Just going to cut that off a little bit. And then glue that down. I'm going to leave the front just like it is for right now. And because that's a fold, I have to glue in there too. There we go. Okay, because what we're going to do when we're done is we're going to fold this piece of paper and then glue it on like that, just to finish off that top edge. And this one I didn't fold over quite enough, but we're going to leave it for right this second. Let me see. I'm sticking out just a little bit. Turn that down a little bit. Okay. So before I do anything else, I'm going to, because like we did on the back, I'm going to go ahead and get some glue on here so I don't have to mess with that part of it after we get it partly together. Okay. I'm going to fold this over, and it kind of pulled my paper apart a little bit, so I'm just going to give it a trim. Like that. Okay, so now we have our base. And I had pulled out, you know, like some stenciling things and that type of thing, but I really like the way that this looks, so I don't think I'm really going to do a whole lot to it. Maybe I'll put a couple stickers or something on it, but for right now, I'm going to leave it just like it is. Now what we're going to do, excuse me, take a couple of our earrings, and we are going to, the part that you would normally put in your ear, yes, we're going to put that through the front, or I mean through the back, from the back to the front, so that when you pull it around like this, this little part that you hook on is on the inside. Okay, now this is a little bit too tall. I made it 1 inch because the other pair of hoop earrings I had were a lot bigger, and so I did them a 1/2 inch, and they were just really floppy and sticking way up there. So I took it down 1 inch, and there was still plenty of room. This one, there is not plenty of room. So my choices are to make a new hole or to cut the top off a little bit so that the top is, so that we've got a little bit of playroom. We've got to be able to flip our things over. So we've got that like that. Well, I like the way that this folds over the top. I like the angle that I've got on it. If I cut the top, that's going to make a different angle. We will lose our little flap, so I'm going to move the holes. So I am just going to come up a little bit. Where's my pokey tool? All right. I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. Come up about a 1/2 inch. I can't eyeball it. It's not going to work. All right, so those were 1 inch down. Oh, that's how I do it. Put it in the middle of that hole, line it up with the top, and poke your hole. Draw in a 1/2 inch. Yes, you definitely want to make sure you have enough room. So we're going to make that one a 1/2 inch. Come over here, line it up with the top, line it up with the center of your hole. And actually you would line it up with the edge of your hole to make your hole in exactly the same spot. But since I lined the other one up with the center, it's a little bit moved that way. I'll line this one up with the center so that our other holes are good too. And the reason that I made punch those holes, you could punch the holes with this, but it makes them very, very tight. So punching it, oops, I mean to do that. Punching it with the hole punch, number 1 is easier. Number 2, maybe it's not easier. But that way you've got some wiggle room. But yes, those are lined up very nicely. We're a little bit further over here than here, but what do I say? It's handmade. Okay, so now we are going to, and we have to move these up also. Let's see, which way did they move? They moved this way a little bit. So I need to make sure that these ones move that way a little bit. So I'm going to line it up with the center of the hole. And a 1/2 inch. Line this one up with the center of the hole. And a 1/2 inch. Doesn't work as well without the mat underneath. Okay. Okay, now I think is that the biggest one? Yep, that is the biggest one. Yep. Okay, so now, and so what are we going to do with these holes? Well, these ones will be covered by our whatchamacall. The others will actually be covered as soon as you flip it over, but we can always put a piece of paper or something on there. Take a little strip of paper and stick that right across there. Make it a little border. All right, so we are going to take our earrings. We are going to put them from the inside. I need to cut this down just a little bit more because it's just going to be in my way. we're going to go from the inside out. Like that. And take another one and go from the inside out. Like that. Now our clasp part is on the inside. And then we're going to take our, and I have not put my quotes or anything on here, or my little affirmations, but I will take these off later and do that. So I'm just going ahead and I'm just putting those all lined up through each one of the earrings. If you keep them lined up, it works better. There we go. There's that one. And there's that one. And we're going to let them flip down onto the front, and that is what they look like. Now we are going to come over to the back side and bring it through just like that. We're going to take this little flap and put it over top like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that little flap. You don't have to. To me, it makes it feel more sturdy. And I'm just going to put a little bit right there because I'm actually going to have to take it off. Wait. No, you don't have to take it off to take the affirmation words off. Just put a little bit of glue on there and fold that over. Whoops. I'm just lining this piece of paper up with this, not worrying about anything else, like where those are or whatever. And I didn't get any glue on there. Let's do that again. Set it down. And really get some glue on there. I can roll those out to the side too to get them out of my way. Just give it a press. And now that just kind of holds it together nicer. And I can still just take these and take these off if I want to. Okay, so we're going to just put this through at the 1/2 inch hole. And put this one through. And then poke it through, make the hoop itself kind of poke through a little bit. It makes it just a little bit sturdier. And then take this one. These aren't quite as big as the other ones, so it doesn't really want to poke all the way through. And then all I'm doing is just locking the earring like you would lock it when you put it on your ear. Is that? Oh yeah, that's on there. Okay. And then just put those back where they belong. This one came out. There we go. And now I can even flip those like over. If I put this, if I actually push this through, push this bottom part through a little bit, they will stand right up straight. Push this bottom part through a little bit. And there we go. And to me, it doesn't matter if they stand up straight, but if you want them to, you can work them to where both sides are kind of coming through a little bit because it's bigger than the little wire that's just going through there. But there we go. Now we have our cute little daily or weekly affirmation cards. We can add to them. You can put stuff on the front and on the back. So once you get all the way over, now, if you're going to do front and back, you might want your TP to be, same on each side. Remember how I made it shorter? So this was at more of an angle and this was more straight up and down because this is harder to read. Or you can put it front and back. So if you have it sitting on your desk, you can read this. And when someone comes in, to your craft room or your office or whatever, they can read the other side. But there we go. They just flip over nicely. And we're just going to put some feel-good sayings on there. And just make it so that everything just feels right with the world. So that is my quote easel. And I was just wondering what I had here. If I have something I might want to put on it. I think those rub-ons are too. Maybe a couple of these little turquoise blings might be kind of cute. Put it on there, kind of pointing up towards the quote. Get another one. And of course, when you do your writings on here, you can decorate each page so that it looks pretty as you turn it over. You can change it by the month. Like each month, you can work throughout the month making some more cards. And when the end of the month comes, take these ones off and put your new month on there. And then save them so that when the next year comes around, you can just put them on there. Or a new month comes and you haven't got any made, take an old month, because you're going to put things on there that you enjoy. And so it's not going to matter if you see it a couple of times. I wonder if this butterfly, if I cut this butterfly out. I know I have more stickers in my stash than this, in the Build Your Stash stash. I definitely have more stickers than this in my regular stash, but I was wondering maybe if I just cut this little butterfly out, it might fit on the bottom space. And I had already cut off part of that heart when we did the Rolodex, so that's why it looked funny. There. Oh, it'll fit right on there. Perfect. Now if I can get the back off since I cut it. There we go. Line it up right with the bottom because it just fit. Try and make sure that I'm in the middle. That looks good. Give it a press. And if it comes off, I'll glue it because I didn't think to put some glue under it, which a lot of times I do, especially since this is a 3-dimensional and it's a little heavy. But there we go. I just really like these. I have some, my kids buy them for me every so often where you just change the card. And, I have some that I've bought myself. But I really love the daily affirmations. I just love the daily feel-good words. And I thought we would do one of our own so we could put our favorite quotes on there and our favorite words and our favorite scriptures, whatever we want to put on there. We can do that and it will be right there. And it will also feel good that we made it ourselves. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you get a chance, watch a commercial now and then. It really does help me. Thanks again for stopping by, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.